All right, appreciate you waiting up. Great scrimmage, and probably in excess of 150 plays or so. Everything offense, defense, special teams, and every situation. Live tackling for about half of that. That's what I think it is. Whatever number we're allowed to do. We got to that limit, and then roll horn and go to thud. But the quarterbacks, all the quarterbacks worked in there. Name it, red zone, third down, work coming out, goal line. 2-minute situations, 4-minute situations, overtime, a couple times. All in all, just a very productive day. Progress, miles to go.
Sound like Byron had a couple of scores and did particularly well in the running game.
You're like watching from the top.
Well, you've got an inside guy who puts it out there. So,
I'm going to find that guy. I'm going to have him go work with you or something like that. So.
Well, how have you seen
Byron did a really good job. He better grow up fast. He did have a personal foul after a run during the 4-minute drill. I'm not tolerate that here. But he did do a really good job with all the other stuff, and he's had a really good camp. So a really bright future for him, and overall positive.
What goes into the timeline of this decision making for quarterbacks now that you've had both scrimmages?
We're close.
Joe mentioned executing and finishing drives compared to the first scrimmage. Did you see that happen?
Night and day difference. Yes, sir. I feel like that first scrimmage, the defense had their way for most of it, and early on in this one, the offense came out, and they came out fast and strong. They finished drives. First series was a 3-and-out. After that, they got going, got the momentum, played fast a couple times, but nothing. We're not a super high tempo operation, but just all in all, very efficient, operated really well, eliminated penalties, especially pre-snap penalties was a big issue. Scrimmage one, played cleaner, played faster, and finished. Really tried to finish plays. There were some good efforts on defense as well. All in all, today was a better day for the offense and the defense, but you saw some positive progress on both sides.
What's kind of the next step now? Getting into this next week.
We'll stay in camp mode is what we'll do. Now we'll take some of the physical work off of these guys in the next 48 hours. These are 2 days that we feel are really key to being ready for 2 weeks down the line, 2 weeks from now. So tomorrow we'll lift and walk through, review the film, talk about where we are, the gap that exists, and what we have to do to close that gap. We'll jump into film. We'll talk about what we're going to do over the next couple of days, and they'll have 24 hours after that to really get their bodies right, their minds right, and focused to get at it again on Tuesday. We're not in school. We don't start classes for a while. For, I think 4 weeks or something like that. So we still have that camp opportunity, that camp time and mode opportunity. We're going to use it.
We've talked a lot about the guys on the edges, but one guy we haven't talked a lot about is Mace. Mm-hmm. In his development as a guy who's experienced as he is. Mm-hmm. What's he shown in camp as far as that next step of progress?
Just came in really good shape. He's down to 260 pounds, heavy-handed, and he's always been a great striker, and it's showing up really well. He sets edges like very few people do. He can get hands on a tight end. He can take on double teams with tackles, tight ends, or tight ends and wings. Set edges, turn to run back, and he's also slippery in the pass game as well. He got a great power rush. He's really developed his speed and explosiveness. He's had a great camp so far. And as always, just a great human being. Done a great job with our principles and values and our culture.
Steve Stevens really capitalized on spring, and obviously still running with the ones. Again, a guy who spent a lot of years lower down on the organizational chart, and now is in a position. What was the change for him beyond body development?
Well, football is a developmental sport. I think we live in this. During this day and time is we lose sight of the fact that this sport, it does take time. To be a really good player, it might take some guys a little bit longer than another. It might take the right opportunity. Just not sure when it's going to pop, but it's certainly the game has slowed down for him. He's playing fast. He's playing physical. A little bit, well, not a lot like George Moore. George Moore's about 29, 30 years old. It took him a while, but he's really in a good place. I think Steve is right on par with what we've seen in just traditionally over 100 years of football, is that he has developed, he understands the system, he understands leverage, angles, runs really well. His body has developed. That's the biggest thing. You see a guy that can consistently hits over 21.5 miles per hour on the GPS, and when he hits it, you feel it. Very physical guy. He knows how to practice. He understands the culture, does things the right way. Really fired up. Very, very happy for him watching him develop.
Does the new I was curious, does the new fan protocol extend to the team as well? And do you feel like, heading into this thing that you guys are doing the due diligence, vaccinated enough to where you're not worried about a potential outbreak or anything?
Our protocols are really, really high end. Always have been from the beginning, ever since the pandemic broke out. And look, I'm just fired up beyond words that we're having fans. Okay, and I know they're fired up, and I need to see him. We need to see him. We need to have him in there. And whatever the protocol is, we can still be extremely loud. So it'd be good 2 weeks out to start practicing being loud, with mask, without mask, whatever it takes. And we're excited to see him.
Mike is a guy who 2 years, but we've seen for the equivalent of one season for myriad reasons. What do you guys see, particularly in this camp, where this is the first so far fully normal camp for him?
Yeah, Mike, we were talking about that the other day, man. He that first camp of his, he was lights out. And I'll never forget, it was this day or this particular practice 2 years ago when he injured his shoulder. I remember leaving that practice, it felt like we had lost the game. That's how devastating it was, because he was playing so well. Well, he's healthy, he's focused, he's locked in, motivated. He takes to hard coaching, and Coach McClendon does the best job of anyone in the country at wide receiver. And those two have formed a really good bond, and Micah wants to be great. He wants to be pushed, and he's getting a full dose of it. He's been extremely productive. He's made explosive plays. He's become a gritty player. Always had that in him, but now he's doing it in the running game as well. So expecting a huge year out of him, really. I mean, he's been great.
What's the separation like between the three freshman quarterbacks? Is there a guy that's separating himself among the three that you have a good idea who could be your two?
I feel like they're all different,
Right.
so they separate themselves in different ways. But none of them do something poorly. Just they excel at some things better than others. At the end of the day, it's about moving the chains and scoring points. So we have enough in our offense where you can play differently with each one and not really come off the rails with the system. So all in all, it's just you're looking at three guys that have been pretty accurate, that from a decision-making standpoint are lying in the 88 to 94% range. It's not good enough, but it's getting there. Very conscientious guys that they understand protections. Middle of the night last night, I hit Ty Thompson up. I say, hey man, we were in this protection. You talk to me. You tell me who's got who and what do you have. And he sends back, two-page paragraph in detail. And almost I thought I had him, but I don't know. Maybe he had the playbook beside him and he was cheating or something like that. But those guys, they take a lot of pride in that. Anthony's done a great job. Anthony had a really good day today. Ty had a good day. Butter had a good day. Robbie continues to get better and better. And it's tight, It's one of those deals where, look, somebody's going to be disappointed at the end. And that part, it's not fun. But it is real. But one thing, if you look at it for what it is, every one of those quarterbacks should be enthused about their future, because they all got a shot. They all got a shot to be the guy that's competing against the guy. They're all right there. We did a really good job evaluating guys with high character and that want to compete, and we'll find out. We'll find out what we're about here in a little bit.
In the spring, Anthony was the clear-cut number one. Have those guys closed the gap at all, or is Anthony still pretty in a good spot?
Gaps. Talking about closing gaps. They're all better.
Yeah.
Like, we feel if we played our quarterbacks, that we're winning. We're going to win football games. Anthony continues to get better. Anthony allows himself to get pushed really hard, and that's how we work here. We don't cross the line of demeaning. We say I'm demanding, and because we know that right now we're playing in front of an empty stadium. Soon that thing is going to be filled up. We're going to go to places that are filled up and make a lot of noise and make things difficult. So we have to create those types of that type of duress, that type of pressure, and see what type of response we get by being very precise, very accurate, just being very diligent with attention to detail that's unmatched. We could do that on a consistent basis, and that's how you create separation. They've all, it's like, they're getting there, but also Anthony's pushing ahead as well.
Sure.
So as the gap closes, there's also push on the other side.
We've talked about the changes in roster management, the initial counter. The AFCA and Football Oversight's talking about it. I guess they got feedback this week. Nick weighed in nationally. Your thoughts on the various ideas that are out there? Have you talked to Todd Berry at all about all this stuff, whether it's you get 5 back or 7 back or certain triggers or guys who go to the draft or any number of these different iterations of all this?
That would be a sit down. I mean, I have a lot of ideas on that, on how to make sure that both sides are taken care of, because you want to give guys opportunities to pursue a career, and you want to give programs an opportunity to fill the gaps should those gaps occur late in the game, because it's a domino effect, it's a trickle effect, right? If a guy makes a poor decision and it really benefits him academically and from an athletic standpoint to come back and continue, there's a lot of value to that. There's also a lot of value to the fact that if a team is decimated by departures at a certain time of the year and you can't fill those gaps with the caliber of player necessary to even function a practice, now you're looking at injuries, you're looking at a lot of extra wear and tear. There's a lot, you got to look at this thing holistically and just take a deep hard look at what approach allows student athletes to let's say progress, to have an opportunity to increase their value, and at the same time an opportunity for programs to function in a safe manner and be productive. A lot to it, man. A lot to it.
The young wide receivers,
Last question.
all had their moments in the first scrimmage. What did you see from them today?
They had their moments today too. They really did, and big moments. I don't think that anything that we do, I don't think playing in a packed stadium in this conference or anything is going to be too big of a moment for them. I think when you go against our corners, you're going against some of the best there is in the country. I think at the pace that we practice, we challenge them, and that's going to be about as challenging as you can get. So I don't see these guys flinching. I see these guys instantly making an impact, and we're going to force the issue. We're going to press the issue. We think that they're going to be ready to do it. So.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys.